This company has 5,000 followers on LinkedIn. The average page that size gets around 700 impressions per post, but they're getting 36,000. Why? We analyzed 670,000 LinkedIn accounts from 63,000 accounts around the world. Company pages and personal profiles covering the last 2 years. And what came out of the data isn't what most people expect. So in this video, I'm gonna go ahead and give you the full playbook. What's actually working on LinkedIn right now, what the numbers say about each piece of it, and how to apply it. Something I hear a lot from people managing a LinkedIn account for a brand is some version of the same thing. We're posting consistently, the content looks good, but it's hard to tell if it's actually doing anything. And I get it, because if you've been looking at your LinkedIn numbers lately and you feel like something's off, you're right. Likes are down, comments are down, and overall, it can feel like things slow down. But actually, overall engagement went up nearly 14%, which doesn't seem to make up much sense at first, until you look at what LinkedIn is actually counting. When someone swipes at your carousel, clicks at your company page, or even opens a document, all of that counts as engagement even though it's invisible. Because yes, none of that shows up on your post or at your LinkedIn Analytics dashboard, for example. So what you're seeing is fewer visible interactions, while everything that is happening behind the scenes is actually working, which means your content might be doing better than it looks, as long as you're looking at the right numbers. And that's when usually things got confusing, because those clicks aren't actually visible at LinkedIn itself. And that is okay. If you want to take a look at those numbers, you can go into third-party platforms like Metrical. In there, you can see those clicks alongside your likes and comments. So you're not guessing what engagement looks like from now on. So with that said, the first thing in your playbook that you really need to pay attention to is to stop judging your LinkedIn profile by likes alone. The real engagement is happening where you can see it. Okay, now let's move on into the second one. Stop thinking about growing your page and start thinking about increasing your surface area on LinkedIn. And what I mean by this is your company page should be one piece of your strategy and not the whole game. According to our study, most of the company pages didn't really grow last year. But it's not that company pages don't work. They actually do something really, really well, and that is getting shared. Company pages get shared over 1,000% more than personal profiles. And that is because people trust brand content enough to repost it. So yeah, your company page helps your content reach more people, but it can't do everything on its own. And this is where personal profiles come along. Personal profiles are where most of the interaction happens. They have way more engagement and comments. So these two aren't competing. They actually play different roles. And the brands that are growing are using both together. The move isn't to abandon your page. It's to activate your people alongside it. And not as a forced employee advocacy program where everyone shares the last LinkedIn post of the company on a Friday, but in a way that feels natural. Actually, Christina Lee from Slate explained it really, really well in a newsletter. She explains that instead of asking how to grow the company page, they focus on increasing how often the brand shows up across LinkedIn. Some of the content that performs really well at Metrical has actually nothing to do with their product. Or designer Andrea, for example, posts about her day-to-day or her design tips. Or CHRO Orten shares cultural stories about the company, and our paid manager Jasmina talks all the time about ad strategy. And what we see here when these work really well is that the audience connects way more with them as people, and Metrical as the brand benefits from that. And yes, the tricky part here is keeping all of these things connected and coordinated without losing track of what's going out and where. And here is where having everything in one place really, really helps. In Metricool, you can plan both your company page and your personal profile in the same calendar so all of it stays organized. Okay, now let's talk about formats because this one really surprised me when I saw the data. If you look at what people are posting on LinkedIn, most of it looks pretty similar. A lot of images and a lot of videos. In fact, images make about 49% of all of the posts shared across LinkedIn, and video is another 25%. So most of the content fall into those two formats. But when you look at performance, the picture changes. Carousels can generate up to 17 times more interactions than a single image. And polls reach almost 3 times more people per post than any other format. But the funny, or I would say interesting thing is that they're barely used. And you can see that in the accounts that are outperforming their categories by a lot. For Meep, a small page with around 8,000 followers gets 15 times the average impressions for their company page size by posting educational infographics that are very useful and easy to share for their audience. Sagrada Familia, also a very small page, is doing 12 times its category average with multi-image posts that showcase visual progress updates on their church. And Brandimia, a medium-sized company, reaches 10 times more people by using carousels as their main format that spark a lot of comments on their posts. Now, video plays a different role. On personal profiles, it's widely used, but it ranks lowest in impressions and interactions. So yeah, with video, posting more doesn't necessarily mean better results. However, that doesn't mean that they don't work. It just needs a clear role for your strategy. And Network is a great example for this. They use short videos on LinkedIn to lead people to YouTube. So for them, LinkedIn isn't the main destination. It is just the entry point. So this isn't about which format is best. It's about matching the format to the job. Carousels work well for step-by-step ideas. Polls help you understand your audience. And video works when the content actually benefits from it being a video. Now, there's something else happening on LinkedIn that is really easy to miss. While you're focused on your own posts, other conversations in your space are already getting attention in the platform. People asking questions and sharing opinions. And most of that is happening on personal profiles. Joining those conversations matters more than it seems. A thoughtful comment on a post that's already moving can bring more visibility than posting something on your own, and especially if your account is small. And the data supports this too. Posts that include a question get 77% more comments, and posts with a clear call to action get about 80% more. So, in practice, make these two simple shifts. Add a question or a clear CTA that people can respond to. And spend a bit of time on the comments of other people's posts from your industry. And not to be visible, but to actually contribute and see what your audience wants to know more of. Because growth is being a part of the conversation too. There's another piece that makes a big difference. Timing. Most of a post's reach happens in the first couple of days. And on personal profiles, a big part of the interaction comes in day one. So when you publish matters as much as what you publish. Most activity tends to happen between 9 and 12 p.m. But that's also when competition is highest. The best time for your audience might be different. And the only way to know that is to look at your own data. In Metricool, you can see your best times to post, so that way you're not just guessing. And after all of these advices in your playbook, what matters is showing up regularly with a clear reason behind what you post. Remember, the metrics that matters aren't always the visible ones. Your company page is only part of how your brand shows up. Yes, your format makes a difference, but only when it fits your content, and a lot of growth is happening in conversations, not only on posts. And of course, my last point, timing plays a role too. If you want to explain the data behind all of these more in detail, you can download the full 2026 LinkedIn study at the link in our description. And if you want to start applying it, you can try Metricool at the link in our description as well. See you in the next one, Metricooler.